Hey everyone, apologies for not making any videos recently. Now, in case you're not particularly politically astute, it may have passed you by that Mitt Romney, the Republican nominee for president, has chosen his vice president. It's a guy by the name of Paul Ryan, who is a congressman from Wisconsin. Now, this was seen as a bold move by some people in the media. I don't quite understand how picking a white male Christian counts as a bold move for the Republican Party, but there we go. But I thought, seeing as we now know the full Romney ticket, I thought I would check out what this guy is for and, make a video about it. Someone who could quite literally be a heartbeat away from being the leader of the free world, the leader of the biggest economy on earth. Now, Paul Ryan is rather popular on the right. He is a darling of the Tea Party and is seen as one of the new wave of young Republicans. In fact, he is the founder of the Young Guns, a group of Republicans that includes House Majority Leader Eric Cantor and Republican Whip Kevin McCarthy. I think apart from the House Leader John Boehner, they are the two biggest political Republican names in the House. But if there is one thing he is known for, or at least the one thing that he and Mitt Romney would like you to focus on, is that he is the Republican budget guy. He wrote the Republicans' budget proposal in 2012 called The Path to Prosperity, Restoring America's Promise, and 2013's proposal called The Path to Prosperity, A Blueprint for American Renewal. Now, these budgets have proved very popular with Republicans, with the House passing the latest budget proposal earlier this year, 228 to 191, and it is endorsed, of course, by Romney himself. The problem is that this budget has a lot of problems with it and a lot of things that could hurt their election chances. Let's first start off with the tax cuts. Ryan proposes two tax rates, 10% and 25%, instead of the 6 tax rates that there is now. He will keep the current Bush tax cuts as they are, while piling on trillions more in tax cuts over the next decade. Now, who will get these tax cuts? Well, primarily the rich, of course. Households that earn more than $1 million a year will save approximately $265,000 in taxes, while the bottom 20% will see their taxes increase by $159 and potentially up into the thousands. The reason for the increase is because Ryan will get rid of tax breaks for low-income families with children, because why would they need the money? It's also worth noting that it's ironic that Romney wants to move away from the issue of his tax returns, an issue that has dogged him even before he started running for president, back to in the early 90s when he wanted to run for governor of Massachusetts the first time. Yet he chooses a guy for vice president that, according to his plan, according to Paul Ryan's plan, would only make Romney pay 0.82% in taxes. The vast majority of those savings would be from Ryan eliminating the capital gains tax, which is where Romney makes most of his money. So I can't really see that story about Romney's tax returns going anywhere. So, how will Ryan pay for these tax cuts? Well, it certainly won't be from defense spending, which he will increase by $300 billion over the next decade. No, you probably won't be surprised to learn that it will be the poor that will take the brunt of these cuts, with Ryan wanting to cut Medicaid by a third, cutting food stamps, federal employee pensions, and job training programs. Now, this doesn't match up to what the increases in the military budget and the shortfall in the tax cuts, not by a long shot. But Ryan isn't very specific about what exactly he would cut and by how much. But suffice it to say, anything that isn't defense or social security will see big sweeping cuts in order to pay for the things that I've already mentioned. On to Medicare. Ryan wants to essentially end Medicare as people know it now and move it to a voucher system where the government would give each senior a fixed amount of money which they then can use to either participate in Medicare or join a private insurer, which is bad for a number of reasons. Firstly, it takes away the guarantee that seniors have now in getting the care that they need, and because the amount given to seniors will be capped, as costs go up they will have to pay extra to cover what they need if they can afford it at all. So his budget in a nutshell is awesome if you're super rich, not so great if you're everyone else. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, well, this isn't Romney's budget. That is true, but there are a lot of similarities. Romney also would lower taxes for the rich, increase the military's budget, which means big, deep cut in entitlements. Again, Romney is very vague on what exactly he will do, but I wouldn't be surprised if his plan turns out to be startlingly similar to what Paul Ryan has in his budget. In fact, Mitt Romney has been going sort of back and forth over how similar his budget and indeed his plans for Medicare are going to be. Of course, I'll leave all links in the below bar so you can see for yourself. Knowing these facts, I don't see how any poor person or any woman, which I'll get to in a minute, would vote for the Romney-Ryan ticket. You'd think actually explaining to the American people what policies you're going to enact, running your own budget numbers and what you would specifically do if you won the White House would be beneficial to your campaign. But I guess Romney has decided it would be to his detriment, which kind of shows how popular he thinks his policies and his budget are going to be. Paul Ryan also voted for Medicare Part D, the Bush tax cuts, surprise surprise, and TARP, the Toxic Asset Relief Program, which was President Bush's $700 billion plan to buy up assets from financial institutions in 2008 in wake of the subprime mortgage crisis. He also voted for the auto bailout as well. So if you hear anyone talking about Paul Ryan being a fiscal hawk, just throw those facts at them. If you're voting for things that cost trillions of dollars with no plan on how to pay it back, then you can't call yourself a fiscal hawk or a budget hawk or any kind of budget related bird name. You just can't call yourself that. Paul Ryan, obviously his social conservatism is extreme, but then we are talking about the Republican Party in 2012 here, so this is kind of the norm for them. He was one of the co-sponsors of HR 212, the Sanctity of Human Life Act, which would say that a fertilized egg should be given all the legal and constitutional protections that you or I would have. This act would not only ban all abortion in all cases, even if the mother's life was in danger, it would also ban certain types of birth control, certain types of hormonal birth control, like the morning after pill that would destroy fertilized eggs, and it would also ban IVF too, as that uses fertilized eggs, not all of which are used. One of the most disgusting parts though is that the way it's written, theoretically, if a woman gets raped and decides to get an abortion, then theoretically the rapist could sue her to keep the baby. He could mount a defense in court saying that the woman he raped is attempting to terminate a human life, and the courts could force her to keep a pregnancy. So Paul Ryan, given rapists more power over what the woman they raped does with her body than the woman herself since 2011. He was also a co-sponsor of HR 3805, an act that would force a woman seeking an abortion to have an ultrasound before she is allowed to give consent to the abortion, even if she doesn't want one or even if her doctor thinks it's unnecessary. These laws have been popping up all over the US, like in Virginia, where in their bill a transvaginal ultrasound was an option, which was amended from the bill after this story got national headlines and made Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, who signed this bill into law, too toxic a name to be considered for the VP pick. There was also controversy in Pennsylvania, where an even more extreme version was put into law by the Republican House and Senate there, and signed into law by Governor Tom Corbett. That one not only requires an ultrasound to be performed, but the doctor has to offer the patient copies of the ultrasound and describe the number of heartbeats per minute, and also if the fetus is developing normally at whatever stage it's at. Asked whether he thinks that the bill goes too far in making the women look at the ultrasound image, the governor says, you can just close your eyes. Okay. Paul Ryan also voted in 1999, get back onto the actual topic of this video, he also voted in 1999 to ban same-sex couples from adopting in the District of Columbia. He also voted against repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and voted in favour of the Federal Marriage Amendment, which would have limited marriage in America to one man and one woman. When you think about it, pretty standard stuff really for the Republicans. To me, what this pick signifies is that Romney knows he's going to have trouble in the election, so he has picked someone to run with him that is very popular with his base and brings a bit of youthful energy to his campaign. I think he hoped this pick would put the issue of his tax returns in the past, but that's not happening. And I don't know what he's going to run on now that he had made such a mess of running on the Olympics. With the massive gaffe-prone appearances that he made during the just at the start of the London Olympics here. I mean, Boris Johnson made fun of him, for fuck's sake. Boris Johnson, a person who is known in this country as a bumbling numpty, even he made fun of Mitt Romney. If you don't know who Boris Johnson is, by the way, he is the Mayor of London, quite a famous politician, even if known for being a bumbling idiot. Kind of think of him as a more gaffe-prone Joe Biden. But I don't know if he can't run in the Olympics now, and he certainly can't run in his time as Bane now that people of the Democrats have characterized him as someone who is much more obsessed with avoiding taxes and actually firing people than creating jobs. He could run on his record as governor of Massachusetts, but then he'd have to try and explain his healthcare plan again, plus his dismal job creation rate. I think it was 47th when he left office, and his raising of fees. Some people in Massachusetts actually had a nickname for him, and it was Fifi, because of all the the numerous fees that he tried to enact, and in order to raise money for the state. It seems like Romney picked Ryan to make sure the people that are already on his side are energized enough to vote for him in November. Because given Ryan's record, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that you would choose in order to win over independents. No, he's the guy that you choose to make people who already like you vote for you and just hope that that's enough. It seems like he's given up in trying to pull back the gap between himself and Obama in regards to women and Latino voters, and I dare say that with the issue of Ryan's Medicare plan on centre stage, Obama will pull back quite a few of the older voters as well, which he lost to McCain in the 2008 election, and which he's trailing now. Overall, I don't think this gives much positivity to Romney's campaign, and in fact shows us he's getting desperate for ways to shore up his base and get them to the polls, something that has been dogging him since the primaries.